Panther Nation, the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com.
I had fun, man, just out, you guys joking, we working at the same time, putting the work in as a team. Like I said, I'm just glad to be with the guys,
My favorite night of the week?
We're going to go out there, and we're playing to win. We're not out here just to show up. We're out here to win.
I don't want guys that want to win, because really, who doesn't? Nobody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. I want players that hate to lose.
This embodies everything that we are as a team, as an organization. Our motto is keep pounding. And that's what we do, what I'm saying?
What is the deal, Panther fans? It's your boy, the Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn, and this is the C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we break down the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. Tonight's show, the Big Cat to host The Apprentice, episode 17.24, and I'm here with my boys, my homeboys, Joe Riolano, that freaking Puerto Rican, the man with the big heart sack. What's up, my friend?
Hey, man, I am so happy to be home. I spent all of the afternoon in the hospital being told I wasn't going to be able to get home, yet here I am, and I'm so thankful for that. I cannot wait to get this show started.
Fantastic. Mel Mayock, how are you, my buddy? Good to see you. We saw each other in person.
Hey, man, this is awesome. Been able to hang out in Big G Vegas, go to dinner with the professor, and actually, gals out there, don't believe all the cheap hype that you hear. The professor picked up the tab and bought dinner tonight.
Wow.
I know it's shocking. I know it is shocking, but it happened. So much to talk about tonight. Let's get to it, man.
All right, fantastic. All right, you know what the deal is?
All right, Tony, well, look. We know, they know who we are, and we know the show. They know what the show's about. Let's just get to it. Okay,
right.
Let's just get to it. Jerry Richardson.
Take the gloves off, Joe.
Jerry Richardson screwed up today. I am saying right now, he made the wrong move. This is going to cost the team years in preparedness to go toward that championship. Dave Gettleman was building this organization to be a consistent winner, to constantly be in competition, to be that team that the guys in Vegas always say, okay, they have a chance to win the Super Bowl this year. Just like the Patriots, just like the Packers, the Steelers. We were going to be that type of team. Jerry Richardson went and decided being friends and keeping your friends around on the franchise longer than what they probably should be around is more important than winning championships. And that's not what this game is about, folks. Football is about winning, and not just games, but bringing championships. Gettleman brought us 3 division championships and a conference championship, something that we have never seen before. 40 wins in his 3+ years while in Carolina. Best general manager ever.
All right.
Ever. All right. Wait. Hold on. Go to your corners. All right. Mel?
Let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you. How many games would DG be credited with without Cam Newton, without Luke Kuechly? You take both of those off of the Panthers. How many games is DG going to win for you? A whole heck of a lot less than what he just did. Either he built this team on his back. I'll stack up Marty Herney's draft picks against DG's draft picks any and every single day of the week, Joe.
All right. Go to your corners. Let's hear. This is what's going down, folks. Yesterday, suddenly, news broke that Dave Gettleman had been fired by Jerry Richardson, right? If you haven't seen or heard about this, you haven't been awake for the last 48 hours as a Panther fan, or a little less than 48 hours as a Panther fan. Guys, I'm at work. I'm teaching a class. I teach a class from 10 to 12. And I get a call from Clip Brock on Pirate Radio 1250. You can check me out there every Friday. Go download the app. You can listen to it. We're on the Sports Bar, 3 o'clock. He calls me up and he says, you're live on the air, right? Or he says, you're on the air, and he goes, Dave Gettleman has been fired. Breaking news. And I said, quit. Why are you prank calling me? Why are you prank calling me, bro?
Oh, come on.
Man. I was like, yeah, what is this nonsense, right? Because a guy that was christened just in 2015, who after 2015 I had going into the election year, I wrote in Dave Gettleman on the ballot. Dave Gettleman for president. Now, to be credit, Joey has been fired up. Joey's been waiting for this moment since yesterday. Like, he couldn't get here any sooner. But guys, with Dave Gettleman, we have had, what we got is we've got a GM that was fired. First of all, let's talk about this. Why was he fired? Right now, the first instinct that I had when Clip asked me, and I thought it was a prank call, was that, all right, since you're not pranking me, and this is true, that the reason that Dave Gettleman, the only reason I could believe that Dave Gettleman could be fired, it had something to do with Greg Olson and Thomas Davis, because they have voiced that they feel that they need some contract extensions before the new year, before the new season. Because, I mean, he, like Joey said, NFC championship, Super Bowl appearance, 3 division championships. What else could get this man fired? Joey, why was he fired before we talk about how bad of a move, in your opinion, it was?
Because Jerry Richardson is a former NFL player. And as a player, he sympathizes and has empathy toward the player. His loyalty, as much as it is his greatest strength, it is his greatest weakness. And it has already cost the team in the past. And we've seen the results of this loyalty lead to many problems within the organization. Jerry is one that can snap. He's been known to making decisions based on reaction. Instead of talking it out and thinking about it, he snaps. And
can you give us an example of what you think of what as an example of what you mean by that, other than this?
Letting his 2 sons.
Okay.
No.
Excellent.
He had 2 sons that he fired from the organization. Okay, that's family, man. Family.
The kids. It ain't just family; it's your children.
Exactly.
It's like Mel paying for a damn wedding.
Exactly, and then right, exactly, and then also paying for the divorce.
There you go.
So, yeah, that is that's serious stuff. So there's an example, and what happened was he and Gettleman were in discussion about Thomas Davis and the contract, and Jerry was already probably the word I use is contentious from what happened with Josh Norman and the way that whole situation went down, which I'm
rightfully so.
Which I'm able to explain later. So, Gettleman probably said something that Jerry didn't take right, or Gettleman didn't give Gettleman a chance to explain more thoroughly, and said, "That's it. I don't want to hear what you said. Get out of here."
I think that may be the best explanation. Before we go to Mel, here's some comments coming off of YouTube. I saw a good one about this. I think it was Slim J 513 said that it was the Matt Khalil deal that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Too much. That Gettleman got us out of cap hell and then paid a guy who only had 1 year out the wazoo. Then I think I saw one other good comment was they're going so quick tonight. The discussion is fired up. Dave Gettleman from Bobby Blue was fired because he had no respect or loyalty for his players. All right, Mel, you go, because I'm kind of thinking Joe may be on the right path here.
You know what I'm thinking, and let's face it, it's all conjecture at this point. You know,
That's
unless
right.
we don't know. But my take is, I mean, Jerry did not become a billionaire by being a softie. He's got to have a little bit of a shark in him. And I think that is the side of him that brought DG in to begin with. He brought DG in to clear house. And DG did that. DG got us back into a good salary cap situation, and kudos to him, and he was needed at the time. But I think you've got, and I think today or yesterday was the Big Cat's birthday. I'm not sure how old he turned. I should know that.
I think it was 88.
88.
Okay, maybe 88.
Nah, maybe 81, I thought. But okay, he's old. He's old.
He's old. He's old dude with a heart
I'll look it
transplant.
up.
I think what happened is he got the house back in order, and he's sitting here looking at his own mortality.
He's 81.
He's saying, I don't have a whole heck of a lot more time on this earth, and I want to fulfill that promise that I made to the Carolinas of bringing a Super Bowl to town, and I want it to be done on my terms, in my way, and I don't want it to be shortchanging Thomas Davis or Greg Olson. I want this done. I want my legacy to be on my terms. And I think he just had enough of DG, who was, let's face it, hey, no disrespect, but he was a Yankee prick. He was. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
I think
he was a Yankee prick.
That's almost racist. Not racist, but
It's geographist. It's geographist.
Yeah.
He's a geographist.
Yeah, but he was not. He didn't even shake the man's hand. John Beeson when he
a
kicked him out the door.
big fucking deal. He's not from the South.
All right, Joey's not a Southern. All right, I think we got two amazing points here. All right. So building on what Mel said is that, look, you know, you got a guy who didn't become a billionaire and get a franchise in the Carolinas by not being able to make a decision, right? So what you got too is a guy who has been, and Jonathan Jones wrote about this in SI, that a guy that's very his legacy is very important to him, and he really takes he likes the fact, he really likes that prestige or the admiration that he gets for bringing a franchise to the Carolinas, to making a team that isn't based on a city, that's based on two states, that has the Sam Mills keep pounding type mantra. And I think what is his name now? I'm forgetting it right off. Will Brinson wrote today, and he pointed to the idea that Jerry Richardson puts the NFL shield on logo on the stadium fields as kind of another example of this. Now, working in the world and knowing how big executives work from time to time, and I'm not an expert in that, but I have known executives who like to be the guy that is loved. There are certain types of personalities, and what they do is they bring in an axeman. When things need to get done that they want done, but they don't want their name associated with, a lot of times, they bring in a guy like a Dave Gettleman who does these types of things. That's what Mel is talking about, and I think that all of these are fantastic points. But I'm going back to this, is that the easy connection was that this had something to do with how he treated players in the past, how he's a football guy. Yes, I agree with all those things. I agree that maybe there are some, what he did with the Norman thing. Probably, look, Gettleman messed up the Norman thing. He wasn't just a jerk in the process. He made a bad move. Yeah, he was just wrong. That's exactly right.
Are putting the blame on the wrong person.
No, here it goes.
No, the person who screwed up that deal was Norman's agent.
No. This is why it's a bad move, Joe. No, this is why it's a bad move. It doesn't have anything.
I
get that.
He was ready to sign, but that the agent kept him from doing so, trying to get more
No,
money.
here's the thing. This is Joe. See, that's not even the point. The point is this: is Dave Gettleman, despite all that, should have just franchise tagged him. That's it. He shouldn't have. It doesn't matter if he was ready to sign. If he didn't think he was worth the money, he should have just franchise tagged and rented him for a year. That was the move to make, right? That's where then to not have him at all was just weird. But here's the thing, like you said, Joey, that he is ready to. He can snap, which I don't know him personally, but I do know this is that Dave Gettleman, his confidence in his style, his ability, his vision, probably borderline on arrogance. And that's what confidence does. It's always teetering on straddling the line of arrogance. And players have mentioned his ego, right? Well, let me just say this. Billionaires have egos too, and we just found that out. Right? And so I think you're right, Joey. I don't think this is just simply a contractual thing about how he's treated guys in the past. I think this is something where Dave Gettleman did not defer to the big cat. In some instance, where he needed just the token sign that you're the billionaire and the guy in charge. And that was enough to just say, you know what, screw it. This is my team. I do whatever the hell I want. You're out of here.
I believe that to be the case. I believe that is exactly what happened. And again, I state that Jerry made the wrong decision. Let's look at this. Gettleman came in and started clearing house right away. Got rid of Smitty, got rid of Williams, talked Gross into retiring. Now, we know Smitty was a favorite of Jerry Richardson, absolute favorite, that he loved him. I think they were neighbors, or at least lived in the same neighborhood. But yes, they were close. Jerry didn't say anything. He kept his mouth quiet. Same thing with D'Angelo. Same thing with Gross. He was letting Gettleman do his job. Why? Because Jerry knew it was tough, but it was the right thing to do. We all admitted that. Every one of us admitted that. Letting Smitty and D-Will go was the right move. Okay?
I don't know that I ever said
I will say yes. I will say yes to D-Will. I will not say yes to Smitty.
No, why did he let Smitty go? So that Cam Newton could come in and take over that locker room. So that Cam Newton could become the leader on that team. Otherwise, Smitty was going to continue to act in that role.
That's what we have been sold. That is what we have been sold, Joey. And I'm not saying it's not true, but I do want to point out this to just kind of not just look. I'm a Gettleman guy. I really am. I don't think that this was good. I don't think the team is going to positively move forward right now because of this. But I am not ready to say that Gettleman did not make errors. He made errors. He made some errors when it came to how he handled some people, but let's put that out. Let's take the touchy-feely stuff out. When he got rid of Smitty, there was zero plan behind it. That was the real problem. We go and draft KB, and we had Byron Bell at left tackle that year. So
because he was left-handed.
That's right. So he miscalculated on those things, but it's all forgotten and forgiven and overlooked because of 2015.
Right, and not just 2015, but remember, we won the freaking NFC South 3 years in a row. How many times had we won the NFC South prior to Dave Gettleman?
We did that one year with 7-8-1 record, though.
So what?
We haven't had two back-to-back winning seasons. We have not had two back. So I agree.
But Joe, you're right.
Deserve it because we didn't have a winning record.
It comes down to the players. It comes down to Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly.
No, it does not. It does
Tell
not.
me it does not. Tell me it does not. It absolutely does. It absolutely does. Let me tell you, Marty Hurney got Thomas Davis, Ryan Khalil, Charles Johnson.
All right. One at a time. Here, hold on. Go to your corners.
Ding, ding. Do it.
All right. Okay. All right.
Tell me it's not because of Cam Newton. Tell me it's not because of Cam Newton. It is 100% because of Cam Newton.
Aaron, we're not talking about the players. Okay, we're talking about general managers.
It comes down to players, though.
Yes, I will agree with you that none of what happened would be possible without Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly. And who drafted those guys? Marty Hurney.
And let me say, don't just dismiss that. There were guys like Mike Mayock. Mike Mayock, if it were up to the true football guys in the world, we would have Blaine Gabbert as our number one pick. And then anything that Dave Gettleman did with Blaine Gabbert at quarterback would not have mattered. It would not have amounted to a hill of beans.
So what I'm dismissing is the fact that Marty Hurney drafted two good guys, but that's it.
No,
that's not a good general manager. His problem was loyalty, just like Jerry's. His problem was loyalty. He wanted to pay the guys that had gotten the team where they were for what they've done in the past, not where they're at and what they're going to do in the future. That's
I'm getting the vibe.
He did.
I'm getting the vibe all of a sudden.
Went wrong.
I'm getting the Charlotte vibe all of a sudden.
All right. Okay, we're here, Joey. Kris Jenkins from Charlotte Vibe is joining us. Kris, I don't know if you've gotten to peek in and what's going on. Joe is fired up, and what he says is this: that firing Dave Gettleman
made no sense. This makes no sense.
He said this makes no sense. And it don't. I don't know what that means, but it don't mean it's a now nutter. But this is what Joe. All right, so Joe's fired up because Dave Gettleman, because he has been instrumental in putting together teams that have won 3 NFC titles, NFC South division championships in a row. One of those years, 2015, with a historic season and a run to the Super Bowl, right? Shocking news breaks yesterday that Jerry Richardson fires Dave Gettleman. Nobody saw this coming. You guys know I've been like Dave Gettleman, Mount High. He's like right up there, a couple rungs below Cam Newton in my book. But all of a sudden, this was a shock. It was a shock to the Panthers system. And right now, Kris, we've been talking about why this move occurred. We've got a lot of theories. We've got a lot of speculation. We would like to hear what your thoughts are.
Hey, guys.
We've been arguing. You just came into a fight, dude. We've been like this.
You came in hot.
That's how we've been. Like
I did.
Mayweather.
Yeah, I did come in, and for the first time I came into a show, and it seemed like Joe was just, fending for his life.
Boom! He was throwing blows. No, we were the ones. We had our hands up, bro. We had our hands up. We were on the ropes.
Oh, Joey.
Yeah, Joey is fired up, guy. He's fired up because he thinks this was a. Joe, you tell him why you're fired up without the montage.
History. Jerry Richardson has really handicapped this team in a way that I didn't think he's done something that I imagined never would even cross his mind of doing. It's a shame because this organization was on the path to being a constant contender. We were heading in the direction of the New England Patriots, the Pittsburgh Steelers, New York Giants. Always talked about at the beginning of the season, and they can put together a championship winner this year. Every year the Patriots are in that conversation. Well, Jerry just set us back 2, 3, maybe 4 years on what he did. It was the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Joe's so fired up he had to go make a trip to the hospital literally today. All right. All right, Kris Jenkins with Charlotte Vine. He's here on the show to help us. Kris is usually a lot more tempered than we are. So tell us, Kris, calm us down. Tell us what happened. Why did it happen, man?
So, yeah, it broke yesterday. I've been pretty busy myself, so I haven't had a chance to put my ear to all the rumors and quotes and things that are going on out there. But what has been put out there is what I really feel is that Jerry Richardson and the big boy Gettleman, they reached a tipping point over the weekend. It's like that relationship that's all good, but you got some things going on everybody don't know about, and then suddenly you cross the line, and they're just like, you're gone. And you do it when you emotionally get to that point. You don't care what's ahead. You just want that pain gone. The thing is, I think it's going to be extremely hard for anybody to know exactly what that was, because that's such a high level thing.
You don't see it day to day, right?
Right. We're around the players, we're around the coaches, and even some of the assistant coaches. But that's not where the problem and this happened. Right. This happened like at the very top of the tree. Right. How often do you see Dave Gettleman on the field? How often do you see Jerry? It's very rare. So I think it's hard to know exactly what, but going with everything that's been said about, him not liking how he's handled the players, I'm sure that's a piece of it, because I've never seen so many players respond to a GM firing like I did yesterday from previous Panther players. Michael Orr was the first person that responded that I'm aware of today that's still with the team, but I feel like he's no longer going to be with the team in his remarks. So I feel like there's some truth to that. But exactly what crossed the line for Jerry, I think it must be a bunch of little things.
That's where we're kind of at, is that we're thinking that, we think this is that it first started. I mean, the first logical starting point is that the relationship in the past with Panther players, particularly ones that Jerry is very fond of, the kind of these guys that are his guys, like his, sons on the field or whatever you want to call them. But, he knew that a lot of
those real sons.
Right. Yeah, you're right. He doesn't care. Good point. So, but we thought at first that this had something to do with, that the approach that Dave Gettleman was going to take when it came to Thomas Davis and Greg Olsen. And that's been the line that most reporters have taken, that Bill Voth floated out there in some ways right away. And he was just speculating as well. But as we dig deeper and we start thinking about it, and you pointed this out in your Periscope, is that this has a personal feel to it. Mm-hmm. And one where this is something that had in the higher levels, where it's not just simply, I don't like the decisions you made in the draft or a contract you made, but we're thinking, or at least I'm thinking, that Dave Gettleman butted heads with Jerry Richardson in some ways, directly, indirectly, and Jerry Richardson pulled it out and laid it on the table and said, mine's a billionaire big. And I think that, there's egos involved here, and Dave Gettleman had one. And not that that's a bad thing to have, but let's not act like Jerry Richardson doesn't have one either.
Right. If you own something, you got it. You got one. You can't run something without it.
Yeah. As a billionaire. So, all right. So we can't know for sure. The only thing more mysterious than why this occurred is why Cameron Artis-Payne will not be given a helmet ever in Carolina. Yeah. That's what I say. Is that I know it's a curveball. But if
of all the questions I thought I was going to get tonight, that was not one of them.
It's not a real question. It's not a real question. But if somebody can tell me why a guy that averages 4.2 yards a carry and has been productive every time he's been given the ball on the field can't even get a jersey or a hat on Sunday when we don't even have a running back at times, it's the biggest mystery. So this is up there with why the Cameron Artis-Payne mystery. So,
Exactly.
all right.
Kris, I'd like
Go ahead,
to
Joe.
ask where you were when you heard the news. It's kind of like I remember exactly where I was when I heard about 9/11. So whenever something very impactful in our lives happens, we tend to remember where we were. I remember
It's called
where
a
I was.
snapshot memory in psychology.
It's what?
It's called a snapshot memory in psychology class.
Okay. So where were you, Kris Jenkins, when the news broke?
I just want to watch you two talk tonight, man. Just free fall, break the format, and you just go.
Yeah, I mean we have been yelling at each other.
Moderator, because
Yes.
otherwise we'd be all over.
Joe and I have been at each other for like 6 hours now over this topic.
It got personal in text. Joey
It did.
straight called up and said that Mel was dumb because he was an NC State grad.
He told me to get my NC State diploma back. I was like, damn, dude, all right.
Maybe this will help both sides. I'm gonna backtrack, and then you're gonna bring me back to that current question, okay?
All right.
My next thing is, I feel like this is a really unfortunate thing where you got two guys that are actually good at what they do, and they just couldn't get along, and now one of them unfortunately has to go, and because the owner is the owner, he stays. But I feel like what Dave Gettleman was doing was a good job, and it seemed definitely like a little WTF, because you don't see general managers fired when there's so much optimism about a team going forward.
Right.
You know, there's tons of optimism about what these draft picks are going to do, what these free agents are going to do, and how he got Peppers back and how he got Captain Muddleman back. So there's like a lot of positive that the guy's doing. So, you know, obviously those guys are scrapping it out behind the scenes for you to have all that success, the best success in your team's history, and you kick a guy out.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's something. You're right. There is something there. And look at this. I saw this on Reddit. Conspiracy time. Panthers GM Dave Gettleman rescinded the franchise tag to Josh Norman on 4/20/16, 8 days before the NFL draft. Panthers owner Jerry Richardson fires GM Dave Gettleman 8 days before the start of training camp. And then I saw one of the comments was in that Greg Olson wears number 88. So 8 days before this is a cosmic event, folks. All right, so
last thing.
Yeah.
I think possibly, we don't know, but just theories, right?
Right.
But possibly, man, I just lost my thought. Am I getting that old? Possibly we could be mad at Jerry Richardson if
suffering from dementia.
Something's going on. 'Cause I'm seriously forgetting. I'm trying to talk it back into my head. But let's say Jerry did let him go because
I thought I was the only one that did that. So that makes me feel better, man. I appreciate it.
All right.
Hey, it's on me.
Now, Joey said this. Now, look, Jerry turned 81 today or yesterday? Today. All right. So
I thought it was 85.
I think it's 81. I looked it up. The Joey, the first thing that Joey tweeted me or text us is that when he heard this is that is Jerry suffering from dementia? Right? Now,
okay. Here's why it's kind of dumb, right? If it's Jerry getting mad that he's not giving the contracts to Olsen and Davis, right? You're mad because they're your guys. So Jerry comes and says, hey, I want to be hands off, but I want to make sure that you take care of Greg and Thomas. And maybe Dave's like, I understand, but I'm not because it's going to mess us up, right? I can see that pissing him off, but I wish if that was the case that Jerry would have looked at what he hired the general manager for while there is a general manager, which is to remove your personal emotional attachment. Look at the performance that this guy has given to you and let him continue to build that, because I think what Joey was saying about the sustained performance that he could build,
right?
It does seem like he had that recipe And obviously, if you look at what Belichick, I don't know who the rest of those guys are up there, but if you look at what New England's doing, they don't care about personnel. Now, they care about the person.
Right.
But if they're looking at the football decision, they don't care if Thomas Davis wants the highest contract. We can't pay Thomas because we're trying to do this every single year.
Right.
You know something. You know something, Kris. What is going on? You got the inside information. I'm not the only person thinking this. This is Tin Tizzy on YouTube saying, you know something about what's going on with Jerry because you are sounding a little too much like Joey right now. And I guess is there any case, and I don't know, is there any case that what Joey is saying about how good of a job that Dave Gettleman has done is partially inflated? And let's raise these concepts right here. Is number one, after a huge year and in 2015 with a run to the Super Bowl, several missteps in the offseason or non-steps, and then you regress to a 6-9 season. That's one. I mean, that's something that can't be just celebrated about him. Additionally, we'll talk about we've talked ad nauseum about what he's done with past veteran players, right? But if you look at who this guy is drafted as well, and I know this is going to sound like people that I'm turning on him, I'm not, but his drafts have not been perfect. They have not been hits. And Mel, tell them the one reason why everybody believes that Dave Gettleman is brilliant in the draft. There's one name.
There's two words for you, and it's KK.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
Without
How is
him,
that ridiculous?
all right, take him out of the equation. Take him out of the equation,
Okay.
and then tell me who Dave Gettleman, who is drafted, that has been impact.
Okay, let's talk about Star Latulier.
Which it would take a 4-year-old to draft Starlet Latulier.
Okay. He dropped from 4 to 13. All right, that's low hanging fruit, Joey. Low hanging fruit.
Let's talk about Trey Turner.
Okay, one.
All right. Hey,
That's
let's talk
technically
about
two.
bringing in.
No. Okay,
Moab.
two.
Not
That's
his fault
two.
what happened in the draft that he picked the right guy because he fell down.
Okay.
Shaq
He still could have made
Thompson.
a dumb decision.
Shaq Thompson.
Shaq Thompson. How about taking Landon Collins instead of Shaq Thompson, who's a
gee.
perennial safety Pro
Well,
Bowler?
you're not the
Jeez.
general manager.
But
You're
neither is Dave Gettleman.
Because he didn't take Landon
He
Collins.
was when he made these draft picks.
He should have taken Landon Collins.
You
Okay.
asked me to give you an answer to something. I'm giving you answers, and you're making up excuses for why you're not right.
Okay.
Come on.
All right,
You can't
keep
have it
going.
both ways.
Keep
Okay,
going.
go ahead, Trey.
Okay. Kelvin Benjamin, a fantastic rookie year, got hurt. So we still
Oh,
have.
come on now. Everybody has been all over Kelvin Benjamin as being a fat slob until
Oh my God.
you included.
No.
Joe,
No.
you've been talking about the 280-pound Kelvin Benjamin until he suits your argument. Come on.
No,
right.
I admit that he came in with some problems.
Come on.
But what I'm saying is he had a good rookie season, and he still has some time to prove whether or not he's going to
Okay.
work out.
All right, you've
Tell me
named
what I have.
2 first-round picks. All right, and Trey Turner.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Can I go?
Hold on.
Let's talk
Okay.
I think it's a little unfair.
Bradbury was a late pick. He looks like he's going to be good.
He was a second
Worley
round pick, and look, those guys are 1 year out.
was a later pick. He looks like he's going to work out good.
Joey Spence, you
Daryl
guys,
Williams was a later round pick, and he looks like he's going to turn out okay. So don't tell me that we have Dave Gettleman's not drafted good players.
Okay, Chris,
Maybe
go
Mark
ahead.
Carney,
Chris, go ahead, get in there.
months.
How many wins did Hurney get while he was GM?
Joe's gonna explode, man. Joe's gonna explode.
Joey's back in the hospital. He's on the way to the hospital. All right, Kris, get in there and you tag in and tell me exactly how these drafts have been as glorious as Joey has said.
Well, I will say you guys did give Joey a hard time. You can't handicap his selections. I mean, the facts are the facts. He did good with his picks. You can't say, well, tell us who he picked good that wasn't a first rounder. Tell me who he picked good that wasn't a second round. You can't do that. That's a little unfair.
Okay.
All right. So we're being hard on Joe.
He can still botch those first and second round picks, right?
Sure.
Right.
I tell you who never botched the first round pick.
Who's that?
Marty Hurney.
Marty Hurney.
I don't care. How many
I don't care.
How many championships did he bring us?
You guys like Marty Hurney?
Marty Hurney made.
Joe,
No, we're not saying that. We're not saying that.
Hold on. I can't say this enough. If it's not for Cam Newton and Luke
Oh
Kuechly,
my God.
David Gettleman has 0 championships.
God.
Zero.
So what? Marty Hurney
on,
drafted Cam Newton. What's Dave Gettleman going to do? Okay,
I still got to call timeout.
All right. Go to your corners. Go to your corners. Go to your corners.
Hey, I still say
I
you
need
got
to
to stick it on Joey.
You got to cut my eye.
Those barbershop talks where they say, well, Usain Bolt's only the fastest guy in the world because he had the long legs. Take away his long legs, he doesn't win.
All right, hold on. Let's hold on. We may be giving Joe a little bit of a hard time, but let me read some names to you. Can somebody tell me what team Coney Ely plays for? Second round pick.
Not the Panthers.
Can somebody tell me who Kabila Klein, Kenyon Barner, Trey Boston, Ben Wickery, Tyler Gaffney play for?
But you
they
still
don't
could say
they don't play for the Panthers.
Route, you could still close the door and say, tell me the last general manager to win 3 NFC South championships in a row.
The general manager that had Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly given to him.
I'm telling you,
if it weren't for
Okay.
He's got 0.
I just want to say this. I just want to look. Hold on. Let her get our 2 cents in here. Is that all right? I will tell you that 2013 was Dave Gettleman's best draft with Star Lotulelei, K1 Shorts, and AJ Klein. Right?
Yep.
But then you could say this, is he did grab Trey Turner in the 3rd. I believe we may have traded up for that one. I'm not entirely sure. So that's a good pick.
I think we did.
Kelvin Benjamin is good, but there has been some controversy surrounding him and some question marks and some rumors to say that some of his potential contract was the reason that some of this divided. But what we got here is like Coney Ely, Trey Boston, Ben Wickery. Look, let's talk about Ben Wickery, for instance.
What about AJ Klein?
Pretty good.
He was a good player.
Pretty good. But here, we could compare some players. Let's just say this, is Marty Hurney, there is an argument that Marty Hurney had better drafts. A lot better.
And let me just throw out.
I'll go ahead and concede that. I will concede that Marty Hurney had better drafts. Big freaking deal. This is not about drafts.
You do not.
Yes, I love this. This is my favorite podcast so far.
And win. And
all right, let
be the best drafter in the world. But if you don't put the team together the right way, you're not going to get wins.
The right way. If you don't have
already, stop.
You don't have it.
You're fighting a losing battle. You cannot tell me Hurney was better as a GM.
Listen to me. You got David Gettleman who comes on and says the answer is on the roster. Let me put the left-handed guy.
Yes,
let me say this, Joe. You got a left-handed guy. He's on the roster. Let me put Byron Bell as your left tackle. And then last year, let me get rid of the best cornerback that we arguably have ever had, and let's spend 3 draft picks on cornerbacks, and let's get lighted up by Matt Ryan for 500 yards and Julio for 300 yards, and let's cut Ben Wickery. And, oh, by the way, we got $30 million in cap space, and we do not have any depth at our offensive tackle position, and Cam Newton gets almost ended his career while I got $30 million sitting in the bank. Those are things that David Gettleman has done that are unforgivable. He did some really good things, but he was by far
I wouldn't say unforgivable, but like what I will say is that he did make some miscalculations. But Joey's right. He fixed the caps. He navigated a difficult cap situation. He put together a roster in 2013 and 2015 made him who he is. Those are the 2 years out of the 4, right? Now, I don't know necessarily how responsible he was for 2015. He was partially responsible for that, but let's give some credit to the players for winning for the NFC South championship and the run that they went on.
Players like Thomas Davis, Ryan Khalil, Charles Johnson, Jonathan Stewart, Cam Newton, Greg Olsen, Luke Kuechly, who are all Marty Hurney guys.
Okay, so they're fair positions. Look, Dave Gettleman did make a couple of major transgressions. The major transgressions by Dave Gettleman is he had a philosophy and where he had a style, and that is that Cam Newton is fantastic. He's so fantastic. That's right. That I don't have to do anything but put him back there. And I don't have to give him any protection. I don't got to give him any weapons. All I got to do is try to put together a good defense, right? That was what he did. That was the downfall of 2 years. That was the same downfall of 2014. But what I'm just saying is that I don't know if that warrants being fired. So, especially 8 days before training camp.
The timing sucked.
Can I have a chance to say something, please, at some point?
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. I am not saying that Dave Gettleman is perfect. Never have I said that, and never have I thought that. Okay? He's made mistakes. We all have. Okay? Dave Gettleman, in 2016, did not make moves that should have been made. I admit that. He had the cap space. There were people out there that could have made the team better, but he stood pat. Okay? He put Byron Bell out there 1 year. Terrible decision. He went into 2016
with Mike Rimmers.
Everything would work out.
Mike Rimmers.
But 2016 was a failure because of injuries, not because of Dave Gettleman. The injuries that took place and the players that were lost due to injury significantly impacted that team. And that team was not able to recover from Cam being hurt, Luke being hurt.
Okay, but you take $30 million, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but all right, fair enough.
The Josh Norman situation was handled poorly. Again, I go back to the agent of Josh Norman being a major factor in that, and at the same time,
Gettleman's ego, and slightly Gettleman's ego,
and I believe Dave Gettleman was making a point to everyone in the NFL that he's not going to be held hostage, that you're not going to be able to sit there and tell him what you're going to make or that you're not going to play. It is his team to run. It is his salary cap to manage. And you're not going to tell him what he has to pay. I believe he was setting an example with Josh Norman. Okay, so you guys are pointing out all these things like it's Dave's fault in particular. He did make mistakes. 2016 was way more than Dave Gettleman's fault, Cam Newton's fault, the offensive line's fault. The defensive line sucked that year. They did nothing to help the secondary that was young, that needed the pressure to
I think we have 40 some sacks. I'm second in the league in sacks last year.
Yeah, and we maybe had some sacks, but we were not good against the run. We gave up a lot
and
of
it was late. We got a little momentum late.
Yes, and we didn't start playing well till late. Yes.
All right. Okay, so, here, let me follow up, too, in a good way, Joey, too, because a lot of people are saying that I thought that you were a Gettleman guy, and they're talking to me. Other good things, that, too, while we can talk about the bad things Gettleman may or may not, the mistakes he may or may not have made, and also the good things he did, at the same time, this offseason, he seemed to have learned from that process somewhat. He goes out. He makes a decisive move, which I think is a good move in getting Matt Khalil. I don't know if it will work. But I think it's, hey, you got to learn from your lessons. So he does that. He goes and gets Captain Munnerlyn, which Slim J513 in YouTube says, good example of padding, of saying, hey, we need a nickel corner. That's part of our scheme. You go and get Julius Peppers to really fill in more for Charles Johnson than anybody. You then also you extend. You get Mario Addison and KK Short to deals in that offseason. He had a successful offseason of free agent acquisitions, his best so far, arguably on paper. Then he goes in and he drafts. And I do think people are going a little crazy about the draft at this moment, saying it's one of the best drafts ever. I would say this is that I hope it is. I like some of the players we got, but call me in 2 years, because I said the same thing in 2014, because I was all over Coney, Ely, Trey Turner, Trey Boston, Ben Wickery. So call me in 2 years, and we'll really discuss how great of a draft that is then. But he did things in the offseason to improve the team. So much so that we are excited about the Carolina Panthers prospects going forward. All right, so now he's gone. That's it. Jerry Richardson pulled out the big cat dingalang and said, this is my team. I don't like you Yankee prick, as Mel said earlier, which we have decided that's geographist. He's not a racist. He's a geographist. But the point being is that he's gone now. Kris, so you don't fall asleep over there. What? Yeah, I know. What does this mean where we don't have a GM, and we are going to talk about the potential hiring of Marty Herney, but what does this mean right now for the team? Do you think that it's a problem for the team going into training camp, or is this something where the GM's job is really mostly done at this point?
Yeah, I feel like he did a really good job in the offseason, and that's why so many people are excited. So to defend Jerry, because earlier I said people could be mad at Jerry if he didn't let this guy stay and take his emotional part out. He does have a pretty good lineup set for the upcoming season. So now it's really all Coach Rivera. I don't think there's many free agents and other big stuff that they were going to do. You may miss some of Gettleman's decision making as they get injuries or need to do little tweaks, but that could also be helped by the scouting team that's already in place, helping him find those guys to do those tweaks. So I feel like for this immediate, it's not going to hurt, but you don't know how much it's going to hurt long term, because if you just use the basis of success on his record, forget all the other gumbo pieces that go into what happens during the season, offense, defense, drafts, etc. He's pretty good, best ever. So how is that next guy going to come in and do that? He could come in and do great, but we don't have any idea who this guy is going to be for the long term.
And let me pick up right there where you stopped, Kris. Talking about future general managers and potential general managers, who is going to want to come in and replace was the best ever in this franchise history and got fired? and got fired. No. If
Yeah.
you
All right, stop arguing over it. Stop arguing over it. But I agree.
If we're arguing, Joe, that means
if you have not, if you think Marty Herney's the best general manager in Panther history, you're flat out wrong.
He did. Don't forget 2003 Super Bowl. Let's give Marty a little bit.
What I am saying, Joe, is Dave Gettleman
ever at the general manager position, perhaps. But
what I'm saying is Dave Gettleman would not have gotten us any championship without Marty Herney's picks. What's wrong with that?
All right.
Okay. So he
Marty graduated with those guys, so it's not just one person that helps the success. So you can still decide. Look, going back to my relationship analogy, we could have dated the same girl, but you didn't marry her. I married her. So there's different chemistry that's created outside of that takes the success. Just having Thomas Davis.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to argue with you.
Let's not distract Joey. Let's not distract Joey, Mel. Keep going, Joe.
Those guys that Herney drafted are critical to the success of this franchise. I'm not denying that. But it is what Dave Gettleman did to the rest of the team to make those guys successful is where the real meat of this conversation is. Yes, Herney brought them in, but Dave, he brought the ingredients in like they're the salt and pepper and garlic of this stew, and Dave Gettleman brought in the meat and the potatoes and everything else to make it a meal.
Oh, I guess Barry Switzer was one hell of a coach for the Cowboys, huh?
Well, what I'm going to do right now is go ahead and give you guys the pay-per-view link to watch the extended behind-the-scenes fight that's going to take place.
Thank you. I'm going to drop that elbow,
I know.
Man.
This is, you know what? It's going to get more money than McGregor and Mayweather.
I got about 3 more minutes. I don't know what else you guys have.
We do have we have a couple YouTube questions for you. Number 1 YouTube questions. Do you know this is from Legacy Lynn. Do you know any do you have any word or news on Marty Herney's hiring as the interim GM? Because that's the word on the street.
Unfortunately, I don't. I was saying I've been pretty busy with other stuff. I hadn't had to check all sources and everything, so I don't have any information about that one.
Okay.
Other than just knowing there's some rumors out there about it.
Now, my question again is this: going back to where this leaves us heading into training camp, is that while we can argue until the cows come home about who's the best and what the right thing is. One of the places that Dave Gettleman did excel as a GM was in scouting and finding these kind of players that have been discarded from other teams to fill in these holes. Thinking back to Mike Mitchell, thinking back to Drayton Florence, to Roman Harper, these types of guys that he could sprinkle in. There is going to be some real opportunity and need to do that as teams start to make a little roster moves, as the Panthers start to evaluate their players. How do the Panthers compensate? Do they give this to Ron Rivera? Where does this fall, and does this leave us in a hole a little bit in that area?
Let me add on to that question. That's a perfect question, Professor. But to add on to that is, have you spoken with David Gregory? And do you have any insight as to where he fits into all of this going forward?
No, I haven't spoken. I've really been in. This happened yesterday, and unfortunately, I've had.
But in general, have you had a relationship with Gregory?
Who is David Gregory?
The head of scouting.
Oh, okay. Oh, that some people think could be the next.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yeah. No conversations with David Gregory. And I believe the starter question was about how Gettleman's absence could affect the team with finding those gems. Mm-hmm. Certainly, because I remember hearing him at press conferences talking. Again, I don't know all the details about their processes and what happens, but I really feel like Dave has these good scouts out there getting him all this information, but he tells them what information to get and how to cut up the tape, and then he watches it, and then he makes the decision. So it's kind of like you can still have that pawn out there, but now you got interim GM out there, and he's not going to watch the tape with the same eye that Dave had. He might say, well, no, I'm not going to choose that guy. Mm-hmm. So I think that will start to be the things that affect us and where you're going to see the quality or lack thereof of a new GM.
But let me just say, I remember when we let John Fox go, there were so many pundits that said, John Fox is such a great coach and such a great football guy that he's going to be picked up and it's going to set this franchise back for years to come. That might be the flavor of the day, but and I'm not saying David Gettleman was awful, because I think he filled a need. I think he came in and was the Axeman that Professor was talking about, and he filled a need for what we needed, cleared out some cap space, and was the bad guy for Jerry Richardson. But let's don't pretend like he's the only one that could take this franchise to the promised land. The cornerstones are Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly.
I do think this was a bad move. I am on record. I am overall in support of where Joey was at. I'm just trying to where Joey is at. I am just trying to find some
just pounding in and joining in and throwing.
Well, I mean, nobody wants a podcast where everybody agrees. In fact, this podcast we tend to agree a little bit too much. But the thing that I am saying is that just like every Panther fan, we're trying to work through the whys and the hows, and we're hoping that this isn't Jerry Richardson suffering from dementia, that there is something going on that we don't know about, and we're trying to extract those things. But I will ask you this. The last question, and you can go, I know you got to run, is I saw Jonathan Jones, who we know is the golden boy. He's Dave Gettleman's golden boy, right? And we know it's the case. We know it's so true. We know he loves the little Carol. He'd be like, hey, Jonathan, you want to basically come drink this? Because Dave Gettleman's always sucking back that water in the press conferences. I feel like Jonathan Jones must be the guy getting him the water or something. But he loves Jonathan Jones, and Jonathan Jones loves him. Jonathan Jones did come out, and look, Jonathan Jones is a smart dude. He knows some things, and he wrote for SI, and he said this was a bad move, that this is going to set the Panthers franchise back. Now, Jonathan Jones and I have a long history going back to when he was a student at Carolina. #ECU. That's why I hit him every time. #ECU when I tweet him. We have had our debates about the Tar Heels versus the Pirates, but it's been in fun and these things, and I do agree with him. But do you think, because I think Jonathan Jones liked Dave Gettleman, do you think, you had to have liked DG. I liked him. That's part of the reason I'm going to miss him. It's mashugana. It's the blue goose. He's got us by the kishkis. Yeah, I mean, he was so personable. But tell us, what did you think about DG, not both as a person and as a GM?
You said tell you what I think about him in both regards?
Yeah. Just and then you could get, is because we can argue about who's better and all these things, but just because I think Joey's made some fantastic points, but I do think that we can temper that demigod status. I'm just saying this. How did you find him? You've met with him, you've talked with him, you've seen what he's done. What's your overall take on Dave Gettleman?
Hey, most importantly, I have watched games with him, like right behind me in the press box. How about that?
But you guys can't talk in there. How excruciatingly painful is that? How it's so painful.
You guys are on. Everybody deserves Oscars tonight. You guys are just awesome. That means whatever you are. Every level.
Poskers. We're podcasters, so we get Poskers.
Poskers. So, as a GM, looking at the actions that he's done, I go to say, nobody's perfect, so you can't grade a guy only on one thing. I just go to take that simplistic approach and look at what's the end result about what happened with this team at the end of the season, right? So I feel like he did good, and when we would have the press conferences where he would talk, he's a guy that obviously has his strategies. He obviously feels strong about his strategies. And I can tell, even though he spoke very kindly and mildly in the press conferences, you know, if you go back and look at a bunch of them, he always says, "Hey guys, you know, a so-and-so is a so-and-so. I don't care how you cut it up, how you look at it." You know, he basically says he's firm in whatever his belief is, which can, you know, dabble into the story about why Jerry might have let go of him. So I feel like he was good. His principles were good. He got results. Yeah, he made mistakes, but he still, you know, picked other pieces to overall have success. As a person, I didn't talk to him candidly too many times, but just watching him and hearing him talk in the press box, he did seem pretty personable and would ask people. I think Michael Orr talked about how he would ask about the person. And I did see Gettleman do that with people, whether it was in the press box talking to some guy about his wife and what they did and so, or if it was him talking to somebody else, he would add personal conversations onto his interactions with the media. So I think he was good overall. And I really continue to feel like this was just one of those cases where you got two good guys, but they had conflicting beliefs. Nobody's right in their belief, but someone has to lose. So
are you talking about Jerry Richardson and David Gettleman, or are you talking about me and Joe?
All right.
No comment.
Thanks for coming on, bro.
What is the difference? All right, Kris Jenkins, fantastic. Kris, tell them where they can get all the latest pulse, the vibe of Charlotte.
Yeah, go to charlottevibe.com. All the social medias is Charlotte Vibe as well, with Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, even though I'm not a big fan of Snapchat.
No, me either, but you are a Periscope champion. In fact, we had one YouTuber say that you should be the general manager of Periscope.
I like Periscope.
Me too.
The essential Periscope moment was when that guy came into the stadium, right, and was right in front of you hanging that sign, and you went live on Periscope with that. Remember that?
Yeah.
That was the quintessential moment.
I can't wait to Periscope with Chris's co-host.
Did you throw that in there?
Sorry, right there. And I'm coming to Charlotte more than usual, so I'm coming for the Periscope.
Good to see. We'll see you. You better be
right. Fantastic. Kris Jenkins, Charlotte Vibe, thank you so much for coming on the show. We look forward to having you back.
Thank you, Cat Chronicles.
All right. We're going back beating up Joe. All right.
Leave
so
him alone.
All right, before may I have say a couple more things?
Yeah, no, we're not done. We do want to. There's a couple of things we do need to talk about because and Joey, let me just say this is that, and you can pick up if this is not the direction you're going, but we do need to talk about this. Is that it was Cody Lackney who said this. One of the things that we haven't talked about is the tremendous shape, and tremendous as in tremendously terrible shape that Marty Hurney left the Carolina Panthers in the salary cap era, with the salary cap, right? And these kind of legacy I won't even say legacy contracts, these buddy contracts where he rewarded his own. So, Joey, if you have something you want to get to that before that, I think that's where we need to go to next. Because really, the word on the street is Marty Hurney is going to be the interim GM.
Right. I want to say this, that first, Aaron, when you compare the situation to Barry Switzer and the Cowboys, Barry Switzer was not the general manager, and he took over a team that had just won the Super Bowl. So there's a big difference there. Now, getting to Marty Hurney in general, yes, when he was let go because just like Jerry Richardson, he felt a loyalty to the players instead of to the fans, because that's what we're talking about here, folks. We're talking about loyalty to the players and keeping them longer than we should, and forcing the fans to suffer by keeping this guy on the roster and holding back the onward and continued success of the team. The team should always be moving in a direction forward, trying to get better. And and part of that is getting younger. No disrespect to Greg Olsen or Thomas Davis, because I think they're still capable of playing at a very high level. I think Gettleman should have acquiesced to Jerry and said, yes, we are going to resign them. I, in my heart, believe Thomas Davis and Greg Olsen don't want to be the highest paid player at their position. Want to be one of the highest.
So, Joe, if that's the case, and Gettleman did not acquiesce to what the Big Cat said in that situation, what should the Big Cat have done?
I think the Big Cat should have let it play out. I think he should have said, okay, Gettleman, I want these guys on the team. You have always thought of this team first and tried to make the team better. I want my legacy to be of winners. I want a championship. I want a Super Bowl. And you've always strived toward that. Try to make something work out with Davis and Olsen. And left it at that. Let Dave Gettleman do his thing. He should have given Dave Gettleman parameters and said, I want these guys re-signed. That's it. He shouldn't necessarily have to say, I want you to make them the highest paid guys at their position. We don't know what the conversation was. Right. I'm just saying I wish Jerry would have let it unfold a bit more, because this probably wasn't going to be addressed until after the season. Maybe they could begin talks now, but we don't know that anything would have been done immediately.
And we don't know what was going on. Was he afraid that maybe Olsen and Thomas Davis were going to hold out? I mean, we don't know.
I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's enough, because I think that what we heard today was Thomas Davis, and maybe Thomas Davis is doing his own damage control, but he came out and said that contract negotiations had already begun and that they were actually in a good spot.
Yes.
So this is why I think there is something more personal than just this between these two guys. And I do want to read you this. This Will Brinson put out a good story on how this was a family move by Jerry Richardson, not a football move. And he said this. He said, quote, unfortunately for Gettleman, politics is also part of the job of the NFL GM. We've seen twice this offseason, first with John Dorsey in Kansas City and now Gettleman in Carolina, that simply being a good evaluator of football talent won't always cut it in certain organizations. And I think that means this is we're continuing to come back. And I think you're right, Joey. I totally agree. I do think we're maybe over. I'm in love with Dave Gettleman. I get it. The whole pants up to your elbows. I love it. Love every look about it and all of those things. But we have to say he wasn't perfect. But ultimately, we don't think it was his performance that was ultimately the problem. Right? I mean, you got to say that. Is that we can't argue with you, Joey, on that. The performance is not the problem. He made the Carolina Panthers relevant again, or he significantly contributed to them becoming relevant again, and relevant for 4 straight years. So what we got is that there is this element of politics, and I firmly believe that there at some point, what I think really happened is that Jerry Richardson needed Dave Gettleman to defer a little bit, whether it's just in manners, you know what I'm saying? Like when you're around your grandparents, you don't need to talk about politics if they are opposed to a couple ideas, not because you think you're wrong, just because it's kind of right in that moment. So I do think, and I think that Richardson there is something to be said about this. Is Richardson? They call him Mister around the place. They call him Mr. Richardson, like he's like the massa. You know, I mean, it's kind of weird in that respect. Is I think, you know, as you're getting, look, is that my wife's grandfather's 95 years old. He's a World War II vet. He lived through the Dust Bowl in the 1930s. He served in Korea. He's super accomplished. He's a wonderful person. But he's starting to get to the point where he's kind of that cranky old man where, hey, my ideas are right. And maybe, you know, like, it doesn't matter. Is that, like, you know, when you get 81, what he's just probably saying, he probably needed Gettleman to just say, yes, sir, for a second, even if he didn't do it. But let's move on to Marty Hurney and talk about this cap situation. He left the Carolina Panthers in what many people say, or what Dave Gettleman described as cap hell when he took over. So, guys, was Marty Hurney the problem? He signed Jonathan Stewart to a mega deal, D'Angelo Williams to a mega deal, James Anderson to a significant deal, Charles Johnson. Now, I heard a guy talking junk about Marty Hurney. You're going all the way back to Charles Johnson. That was market price. You were worried about it. That's what all types of GMs do. But anyway, put it on his record. The Carolina Panthers struggled with the cap going into 2012. I will remind people that the cap in 2012, going into the 2012 season, was $112 million. That's far different than the $164 million cap there is now. So it's a lot easier to screw up a $112 million cap than it is.
But at the same time, the contracts were not where they're at. The value of the players wasn't where they were at that time either. You know, they weren't paying $20 million a quarterback back then.
No, they weren't.
I mean?
But at the same time, is that a $5 million contract is significantly more in $110 million. You know, he paid John Beeson $50 million, highest paid.
And he made Charles Johnson the highest paid defensive player.
What do we call him? What do we call him, Joe?
Big money.
Big money.
Big money.
You know
I
what?
mean,
If he was not our big money back then, he would have been an Atlanta Falcon. So if it weren't for Hurney, Charles Johnson would be an Atlanta Falcon for the last.
But I mean, let's say this is Charles Johnson. Look, good player. Had a good year in 2012 that really made him.
He was a really good player in his prime.
From 2010, 11, and 12, he had 3 good years. He had 3 really. He had 10 sack years, which is big. Right, but he's been a mess since. No offense. I know he would get mad and he would beat the shit out of me. Yes, he would beat the shit out of me if he was in a wheelchair. I get it. But he has not been so effective since 2012.
Where I will totally agree with Joe is
2013 maybe.
Gettleman really handled the Charles Johnson situation well. Charles Johnson ended up taking a much lower pay to stay with the team.
Right.
He let him go. That was a great move. And Gettleman did some really good things. But my point is to say the core of this team was built by Marty Hurney's decisions. He made some serious mistakes. He overpaid through some loyalty. And I'm not saying Hurney should be the long-term guy, but you can't say Hurney sucked because – you've got Thomas Davis. You've got Ryan Khalil. You've got Charles Johnson. You've got Jonathan Stewart, Cam Newton, Greg Olsen, Luke Kuechly.
Hold on. Before we go into that, let me say this. I do think you bring up a good –
anything. He drafted guys. That's all he did.
No. Greg Olsen was a trade, dude. Greg Olsen is a key player that he traded.
Right, is that here, let's do this, is that I do want to do this because I do want to get with Mel on this, is that maybe that Marty Hurney is a fall guy a little bit like Bené Benwickery, but to defend to defend Dave Gettleman, who's my guy, who I think this is a bad move, I'm going to say it again, is that the perception, this is what @BillyM_91 tweeted today.
I like Billy. He puts out good stuff.
The perception that Dave didn't treat older veterans fair is false. This is what then the thread goes. Olsen signed to 3-year, $22.5 million extension, 3/5/2015. Davis signed to 3-year, $18 million extension, 6/16/2015. Ryan Khalil signed to 2-year, $16.75 million extension, 6/16. Kirk Coleman signed to a 3-year deal, $15.1 million extension. Charles Johnson signed multiple new contracts. Mario Addison, Michael Orr, interested of outright cutting Jonathan Stewart. He renegotiated his contract. So he pointed to these several examples where it's not only bad, where Gettleman just hands people their walking papers. Now, let's move back to Marty Hurney and the cap situation. Is there any possibility, going back to my theory, that executives, right, the head guy, look, at a place that I may or may not work, the head of the whole place, he likes to be liked. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's part of it. There is a politic to it, much like Jerry Richardson wants to be loved. But at the same time, he's got probably he didn't get to where he was by not being able to make a tough decision. Is there any possibility, going back to where Jerry Richardson was going into the lockout year? Do you remember how tough he negotiated with Drew Brees and Tom Brady? Do you remember how he brought the whole league? He was pivotal. He was like, he gave, you know, that face he watches the football games with? That's what he brings to the negotiation table. You're like, I don't know if he's alive or if he's dead, if he's angry or happy, but is there any chance that the possibility that Marty Hurney leaving the team in this what people say cap hell had anything to do with this? Jerry Richardson said unload all the contracts going into that year. That was 2010. We unloaded everything. We tanked, right? And then you draft Cam Newton, and all of a sudden in that year, like in that offseason, is when a lot of these deals got made. Some people speculate that those deals were made to guys that Richardson knew that he hurt or put pressure on in that lockout.
You know that the movie where he says places down deep that you don't talk about at parties. You know that you need me on that wall. You want me on that wall, right? You can't handle the truth.
Yeah.
I mean,
Slim J said this in YouTube. Slim J513, who's coming strong tonight, said Big Cat's poker faces on fleek, as the kids say.
Yeah.
It's fire, man.
that sums it up, man. Drop the mic on that one.
I know. Okay, Joe. All right. So, all right. Last kind of at least concept before we get to the ice up picks, because Mel's got to go to bed, and Joe's about to have a heart attack.
That's true.
Potential GMs going forward. Let's not talk about like specific names, except for one group. Is some people have shopped Dan Morgan. Now, I don't think Dan Morgan is the answer right away. He is the director of pro personnel or the VP of pro personnel. He doesn't have his picture on the Seattle Seahawks website. He's got a title and a name, but Kirshner, I think his name is. There's a guy who is ready to become a GM from Seattle. What I think could be a solution here is you bring that guy, Kirshner, here. He brings Dan Morgan with him. And what if you have a mentor-mentee situation? Joey, how do you feel about the man who looks like a caveman? Because you know Dan Morgan looked like a damn caveman back in the day.
He played like a beast.
God, he played like a caveman too. Is that Would that be something that Jerry Richardson would make everybody happy with? Trent Kirshner is his name.
Trent Kirshner, is a name I really don't know. I know Dan Morgan was with the Saints for a little while as part of their organization. I like Dan Morgan. He has a history with the Panthers. I think bringing him back in a player personnel position would be nice because he is a former player. I don't know the Kirshner guy to say enough about him. Obviously they'd have to have meetings and such, but another dimension of this we have to consider is the Rooney Rule. And
okay, yeah, you're right.
You guys know what that is, right?
Yeah, you have to have one minority coach, one person from the North, one person from the South, one person from Ohio, and one person from California.
So you gotta be pretty diverse.
We gotta add geographists to the list of minorities.
All right, let me put this out there real quick. This is an article put out by Vinny Iyer with Sporting News.
Read him all the time.
Yeah,
just kidding.
Seven potential candidates for the GM job. Right? They go.
I have seen this.
They've got. They have Kirshner. They have Gregory, who I advocate for from the Panthers Within. They got John Dorsey, who could be a good pick. Is
that the Kansas City guy that was let go?
Yep. Then you got Ryan Coden from the Titans. Brian. I'm not even going to attempt his last name. Gutenkunst, Packers Director of Player Personnel. George Patton from the Vikings. And the most interesting one, the number 7 person is 89.
Steve Smith?
Yes.
I saw a guy this is what a comment on Reddit was about Steve Smith. And I finally make sense. I saw the comment. And I thought, why is he talking about Steve Smith? He said, if Steve Smith is the GM, I will poop out my penis.
Well, that's what he put it out.
I mean, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
I agree. That blows my mind to see that.
Let me see something. Something I heard today was about Steve Smith. A guy said that he thought Steve Smith was good, but never thought he qualified to be a Hall of Famer. He watched 30 for 30 about the time. What is the show where they talk about players?
Yeah, I think it's
network.
Yeah, usually it's 30 for 30 or no, that's ESPN.
Yeah.
All right, I got you. Okay.
The NFL Network thing, and it was about Steve Smith. And he said after watching the special on Steve Smith, I now know he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah,
right.
I mean I don't even have. There's no question. Triple Crown. That dude was amazing. And let's just go ahead. You want to tell this dude? I'll just say this: is that dude did all that, and he was on the shelf with Jimmy Clausen, Vinny Testaverde. All these guys, you know what I'm saying, is that I always said we did a disservice to Steve Smith. We did 2 disservices to Steve Smith. We cut him when we didn't need to. And second, we really didn't trade him when we should have. We should have traded that guy to the Colts back in the day, and he would have damn made Reggie Wayne look like a dang Jericho Cotchery.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, like, he was amazing. All right, so all right, we do need to get out of here. It's 10:30, and I've got a nice up pick.
One closing statement. It's not wrong.
Please.
2 things. First thing is, Dave Gettleman's done good work in the draft. We can't deny that. For the Win, which is a section of football coverage in USA Today newspaper, they have the Panthers ranked 2nd in draft for the last 5 drafts. They have the Panthers ranked 2nd behind Seattle. So there's one group of guys that think Dave's done a great job. all in all, Dave is gone. I think it was a reactionary move by JR, and will set this team back at least 2 years. Lots of open positions in upper management within this organization. These holes must be filled with well-qualified people so that it just won't be a bunch of yes men to Jerry Richardson. I think that's important, that we can't let Jerry bring in guys that just will do whatever he says.
All right, look at this. There are 3 people icing you up in the YouTube chat, Joe. All right. I know. All right.
They thought they were going to
piss people off.
He knew it. All right. Mel Mayock, you got a nice up pick for us, my friend?
I do, and the low-hanging fruit would be Joe in perpetuating an argument, but we've been doing that all night long, and Joe's got great points, and I respect the hell out of Joe. And Joe, your point is just as valid as mine, but we have differing opinions. But just to change the conversation, I'm going to go ice up Kurt Coleman. We did this last week. I actually iced up the other side. You iced up the Redskins. What I'm going to ice up is, man, I mean, he's putting out the portrayal of this first-class, Class A, Class E guy. But yet, in this negotiation with the Redskins, he was offered to be the highest paid, at least in guaranteed money, quarterback in NFL history. And they didn't even make a counteroffer. They didn't even acknowledge the offer. For every Redskin fan out there, that hurts. Just ask me when it comes to Julius Peppers, because Peppers was offered the highest paid contract in history, and he turned it down. And the truth be told, Peppers just wanted out. He wanted to go somewhere else, and hey, that's his prerogative. The truth is, Kurt Coleman just doesn't want to be a Redskin.
You're talking about Kirk Cousins.
I'm sorry, yes. I'm saying Coleman.
Neither does Kurt Coleman, though.
See, the professor bought me 3 bourbons for dinner, so,
and they were doubles.
Exactly, they were doubles. But Kirk Cousins, yes, I'm sorry, they're in the Redskins. He didn't even acknowledge the offer that was given to him, and Kurt Coleman, just you got to be real with it. You got to come out and say, hey, I just really don't want to be here. Don't just act like you're Mr. First A class guy and then not even acknowledge an offer with a counter offer. So to that, just ice up Kurt Coleman, Kurt Cousins, Kurt anybody. Just ice up.
Ice up Kurt. Joe, just to let you know, there is a strong contingent, more than those three icing you up. There are a lot of people saying, Team Joe, I'm with Joe, ice up Mel. A lot of support for Joey going down. Look, Tin Tizzy, Team Joe, ice me up, he said. Wow. He said, ice me. Yeah, bro. All right. Joe, go ahead. Because my ice up pick has got to go last. It's the best.
It's completely obvious who I'm going to ice up. I am giving a big, fat freezer full of ice Jerry Richardson for this move of cutting or firing Dave Gettleman. I'm so thankful for Jerry that he brought football to the Carolinas. I can never extol my total gratitude and appreciation of him for that. However, letting go of Dave Gettleman was really the poorest decision he's ever made, because Gettleman was going to take us to the promised land. And Jerry Richardson, I know you're 81. I hope it's not senility setting in. I hope it was just a reaction from emotion. And God, tell Dave is sorry and that you'd like him back, because he was going to get us where we want to be. So ice up, Jerry Richardson.
All right. And the YouTube chat is reminding us that Kurt Cousins is way better than Kirk Cousins. Oh, they got you. All right. So here's my ice up pick. My ice up pick goes to PETA, right? And this is the group that represents, and I don't even know the name of them. I don't even know. It's like the group
People for the ethical treatment of animals.
Thank you. The People for Ethical Treatment of Animals. Now, I'm kind of I'm in the middle politically, hanging on the left side of the line, right? But these people are the reason that people can say that liberals are complete freaking idiots, right? And that is because recently, and if you look, there is this guy he is a photographer, and he's from England, and he specializes in wildlife conservation photography. He's been left penniless after years of legal wrangling with PETA. His name is Mr. Slater. I didn't look up his first name. I should have. That was probably not cool. But he goes to like Indonesia. He goes somewhere in Asia, and he's hanging out with these monkeys, these macabre type monkeys, or whatever their names are for these type of monkeys. He teaches them or he gives them a cell phone, a tablet or something, and shows them how to take a selfie. This monkey takes a selfie, and it's a beautiful picture. It's wonderful. It's kind of like one of those viral pictures. He then goes and publishes a book, and he specializes in this type of picture, nature conservation type pictures. And PETA sues this guy, and they sue him saying that the rights of the picture should be to this dang monkey, right? So the monkey, this has been going on since 2015, and he says, look, this guy, his name is David Slater, and he's been left penniless. He said that that at this point, he's thinking about becoming a tennis coach or a dog walker because he has been sued because this monkey that PETA says should get the rewards from this picture since this monkey took this selfie. Well, first of all, I have to say this is monkey business. That is exactly what this is. And the point that I would like to make is this. And what this guy said, this is what the dude's legal defense was, right? And I cannot argue with this, and the people from PETA are going to be iced up. He said, look, he went to the court. His attorney said this. The only pertinent fact in this case is that the plaintiff is a monkey suing for copyright infringement. Imagining that a monkey as the copyright author is ridiculous. And I have to completely agree. So this is where I go further, is I've had a long-running beef with PETA. Yes, I said it. Long-running beef with PETA.
And that is too funny.
Yes, thank you. And my beef goes to the founder of this organization, who I don't even know her name. I don't care who her name is that I can look it up. In fact, I have to look it up, and it goes to the first thing I see is that it's called treehuggers.com, which is awesome. Her name is Ingrid Newkirk. Now, Ingrid Newkirk, I remember this from like 2007, who is like the head of PETA. She comes out and says this as a protest to the poor treatment of animals, that when she dies, she wants parts of her body barbecued. She also wants her feet stretched into umbrellas like they do to elephants, and parts of her body made into handbags like they do. So this Ingrid lady is crazy. And then I want to go on to say this. That's ridiculous and stupid. Fine, I hope you are barbecued. I really do. But then this is the slogan for PETA. Animals are not ours to eat, wear, experiment, use for entertainment, or abuse in any other way. Well, my question to you is this, Miss Ingrid Newkirk, barbecue lady. Are you ready to ask a tiger to stop being a carnivore? Because they are not there to be used for eating or entertainment. It's freaking ridiculous. Now, look, it's cool if you want to make these decisions about being vegan, if you don't like the treatment of animals, but I hope you are barbecued. And this is monkey business, guys. And this monkey, give this guy, this photographer, his freaking money and leave him alone, because a monkey cannot get proceeds from an economy that's created by humans, technology that's created by humans, and copyright laws that are created by humans. It's monkey business, and I say to you, PETA, ice up.
Yeah, well done.
Major ice up. That's so incredibly dumb.
Gosh, I mean, I'm pretty left, dude. But you know, when people are so far left, they're about to fall off the planet. It really makes it may. Yeah, you need to be iced up. All right, this is C3 Podcast, brought to you by Carolina Cat Chronicles, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. I do it with my homeboys. Mel Mayock, tell them where they can hit you up on Twitter.
Catch me anytime at Panthers Drafter.
All right, Joe Riolano, the blood pressure is like that of 2001.
Yes, guys, I was in the hospital a few hours ago, 2-3 hours ago, and I am here on this show because I felt so strongly about this topic, and I hope some of my passion and my fire about this came through. I hope you guys enjoyed the show.
Joe, what was the blood pressure in 2001 when you got sick?
Oh God, it was like 200 over 100 something.
It was like I remember it was like 218 over 170 or something. It was crazy. All right, Joe, where can they find you on Twitter?
Guys, you can find me on Twitter at Joe Riolano. And please, if you got some opinions on the stuff I talked about tonight, hit me up. I'd like to hear them.
All right, my name is Tony Dunn. This is C3 Podcast. Follow us at cat_chronicles, right? And hit us up on Twitter. If you like the show, you like what you hear, you see it on the screen. Subscribe, share, support. Go to our website, hit that Patreon link, give us $1, buy us a beer. I bought Mel like 7 drinks tonight, doubles, triples. It's on. All right, we're gonna see you next Tuesday.
Kurt Coleman.
That's right. And it's all a bunch of Kurts. Kurt. See you next Tuesday.
Good.